Live from Sonoma, welcome race fans one and all back to Green Flag TV, where this afternoon we are ready to kick off yet a night of racing action, and this time it's a brand shiny new look. Welcome once again to the High Tide Racing League on Mondays, and back to Green Flag TV. My name is Will Ramble alongside Justin Prince, and we're bringing you all the action from start to finish of racing action in wine country. Justin, it's a brand new scan, and what better way to break it in than having the High Tide Racing League come on out to a track that they have not raced on in almost 2 calendar years.
Indeed, especially for some of these drivers, it's going to be a challenge because while it's the same layout that many of the drivers may be used to with that short chute around here at Sonoma, it is a different feel potentially for the drivers, especially with newer pavement, with the repave here at Sonoma. You're talking about different graphical assets. Hey, even in the hairpin, it's no longer the tire barriers. You have a basic concrete chute heading into the final corners around here. There's a lot more nuance required in some of these areas, while others, you just look to avoid the 1Xs and avoid adding to the squiggly tire marks around parts of the track.
The good news for this field is they have almost prime track conditions out there. A near optimal temperature of 82 degrees Fahrenheit, a brisk 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, low humidity, barely any wind at all. You could not have asked for a more perfect day to come out and race at the rescan of the Sonoma Raceway. So this one anticipated to be quite the journey here this afternoon as drivers get set to take around this place for 45 laps. And then, of course, the championship standings. Some big stories of this one, most notably your points runner-up, not present this afternoon because of a suspension.
Yeah, and that's going to be a pretty big shake-up in terms of the standings. Going to see him tumble potentially as far back as maybe the top 8 or so. So for him, going to be a big loss of points when talking about the cut just a couple weeks away. But the pressure's on for some of the drivers, though. On the other side of the cut, remember about top 12 is the advancement per the series details. Ty Marasco with that cut line only +4. Connor Gibson is here tonight, so is Marasco. We'll keep an eye on which one is able to score the better amount of points here. Brian D's also looking to see if he can find a lot more speed on the road course tonight.
What this race could do is eliminate some drivers of the top 12 as well. Drivers like Jonathan Canfield, Dustin Ping, Carter Phillips, guys who were hanging just around the edge of the bubble, no longer going to be able to realistically contend for it here. Jonathan Canfield, of course, because family members are currently ill in the residence, and we are hoping the best for them, of course. But for Dustin Ping and Carter Phillips, unknown reasons why they're not here this afternoon. So that's going to lead to a big shake-up. Marasco almost guaranteed to point his way in as a result of John Osborne not being here today. And same story for Connor Gibson. That would put Brian Dees on the bubble if he can finish well here.
In other words, you have to do well regardless. It's about survival to be able to win this type of race in some circumstance because this track is going to challenge you. In particular, when you compare it to, say, a Watkins Glen with Sonoma, I feel Watkins Glen's the easier of the two. Sonoma, with the elevation change, really has been challenging some of these drivers. Just take a look at some of the drivers that we see on that second tab in the practice sessions. Barasco had some big-time struggles, didn't even actually put up a practice time, was in the 121s for the qualifying session. Some of the other drivers you see here as they continue on with those practices, trying to figure out what they can do to match what Aaron Smith II is doing, because he won here last time. He's so far been near untouchable, upwards of 0.6 quicker in final practice, near 0.3 in qualifying.
Aaron Smith truly is a road course ringer here in this league. And remember, he is the driver that took the win the last time these guys came out here back in April of 2024. Just barely able to win out that race against Nick Nickerson, who was right on top of him for much of that race. Just could not make the move when it counted at the tail end of this one. But once again, showing that Aaron Smith, a driver that can really wrangle the quickest of these racetracks underneath him. But look out for Wesley Triplett. Triplett, of course, had to miss last week because of a suspension. He's back, though, and he is ready for more here this afternoon, and he's showing it by locking out number 2 on the in the practice charts this afternoon.
Curious how well he does, in particular, because I don't know if he's necessarily the road course ringer type, so to speak. He's really gone 1.5 miles in the ovals in general. But he was one of the drivers saying, hey, can anyone teach me how to go left and right in practice sessions earlier on today? So we'll see how quick of a study he is to be able to keep up with your race leaders as bottom warm-ups get complete. And a lot of these drivers making sure of one thing. they try and not use up those X's here tonight. Remember, there is no limit in that, but it is a sense of pride to say you have a 0 versus a 20X.
And if I'm remembering my rules correctly, you do get a bonus point for finishing with the 0X as well, so it could be big for your championship hopes as well. But we're getting lined up on the front straightaway, so started on pole position this afternoon. It is Aaron Smith in the PT Autosport Yellow Vision number 70, that iconic number 70 Monte Carlo will line up number 1 on the grid this afternoon. Jaden Hopp, only a 10th off the pace, will line up alongside him on the front row for the Old School Racers 00. Row number 2 on the grid, you're going to have Austin McGill for Golden Garden Autosport. He is alongside the Miller Genuine Draft number 2 of Nick Nickerson in his Ford Taurus. Row 3, Michael Thorpe Jr. brings out the Golden Garden Autosport Monte Carlo. He's alongside Wesley Triplets, number 74 for Dummy Racing. Row 4, holding the likes of Benjamin Lace for 75 Racing. Closing out the top half of the field will be Dalton Kilwell from MFRD Racing. And then the top 10 headed up by Brian Dees from MFRD alongside Kevin Foster's Budweiser number 8.
Then you switch over to row 6. That's where Jesse Gordon makes an appearance tonight. Larry Bell starts off in 12. Next row, that's where Connor Gibson will be this evening, his 31, alongside Bob Berry. Then you dance your way back to 15. James Yerger will make an appearance tonight. Near 5 seconds off the pole. 5.3 back is Ty Marasco. New paint scheme tonight for the last time we're on time. The gardening machine, Paul Statmary, said he wanted to be able to be seen very well tonight. Case of trouble, he's alongside Nicholas Corcel. And Eddie Hagee is the last driver set to start for tonight's order. Nolan, he already has received an EOL regardless, and a black flag on top of things. So the 97 have things stacking up before we even get started here.
And well, we can take a rundown and look at all of the different sites and views around this racetrack as well. You can see where all of these drivers are getting set to roll out from here this afternoon. I tell you what, it's going to be a bit of a rough ride for some. Sonoma is not a track to be trifled with, and out of all the road courses in iRacing, this definitely stands as one of the most technical that you can find out there.
Especially when it comes to it's the balance of throttle input, but also just how well you're able to enter these corners, to be able to gain speed with this car, being so on edge with the downforce levels with the Gen 4 era. It takes a lot of nuance in for these competitors. We've already had a crash. It's Gordon.
Jesse Gordon going around and looking like he may have found the wall. James Yerger going off the road will likely have to try to see if he can let him back in the line here, but he does not have a lot of time to do it. So, boy, the dramas begin before we even get underway. And, heads up there. Don't run over the rest of the field. What a way to kick off the night. That's how you know this is going to be an entertaining show.
EOL penalty, James Yerger. Guess what? Yerger spun him by running over on a checkup.
Oh, dear. We'll have to get a look at that one later on, but for the time being, the iRacing Porsche 911 GT3 pace car pulls in a pit road, and we are ready to get this show on the road. Aaron Smith leads the field into the final corner, and he will be the one to jump on the loud pedal this time by in the Echo Park restart zone. The field patiently waits out of this final left-hand kink alongside the quarter-mile NHRA drag strip, and it's time to go, go, go in wine country! So far, pretty good launch, and Jesse Gordon looking to bounce back 3 wide up the inside of Brian Dees and Larry Bell. Bell's going to lose about 3 spots in the span of just one straightaway as they hit the Toyota hairpin and make their way cutting across that bridge and into the O'Reilly Auto Parts hairpin this afternoon.
Good start for Gordon, already up 5 spots. Same for Ty Marasco, but everybody else is going to have that challenge to keep up with the 70 machine. Jaden Hopp did pick up the tempo, as said, to get within a few tenths to qualifying, but hey, in the case of Gordon, it could be worse. You could have got damage from this sequence. You see, right here, big checkup. Someone doesn't get the memo, and that's Yerger saying, oopsie daisy, and no damage for the 10.
Down into the hairpin for the first time today. The field so far able to make their way through, safe and sound. There you see those brand new Save Mar barriers on the inside wall, being able to hold the field behind them. Meanwhile, Aaron Smith leads the first lap to green at Sonoma.
Interestingly enough, McGill actually took away a spot from Jaden Hopp because Hopp basically went a hard right getting loose after the look of the replay. Some of these drivers having a hard time keeping things steady and straight. All while, Thorpe Jr., he's trying to go forward. Gordon is absolutely cutting through this field, though. Look at this. Both of them overshoot the corner. Here we go.
Oh, boy, that's going to be a hard hit into the wall, and Gordon's charge is brought to a grinding halt with a huge shot into the wall for Michael Thorpe Jr. And the Golden Garden Autosport driver going to be slammed up, and that car could very well be toast.
Yeah, Gordon is demolished. No meatball flags, but I mean, heavy damage. Going to be issues for the rest of the way. Triple, by the way, has fallen into the second pack as things are going on because drivers like Smith, Hopp was already taken away second, and others are trying to scatter as, speaking of St. Mary, already off the track. And here they go into that tight hairpin.
You and I were talking about this hairpin, right, and that how the new profile, or how that wall really reprofiles the corner. You know, beforehand, yeah, as hazardous as the barriers were, especially given the fact that they seem to be made out of bedrock in iRacing rather than being movable like they were in the real world, you were able to escape through those tires in the event of an accident. That's not an option anymore, so it really bottlenecks that whole corner if a car gets turned sideways through there.
Exactly, it's going to become a parking lot. I believe we've seen that in real life in 2024 in particular coming to play in that section. So it is an absolute possibility. By the way, with all that chaos, Kilroe is leading the second pack. Just look at this. Both of them missed the corner. Kilroe is lucky he didn't get turned two. Thorpe Jr. just ended up carrying so much speed that he overlapped with Kilroe. It's hard to check up when both of you blow the corner like that.
I'm amazed that Thorpe did not get a meatball flag from that. He is in pit road, mind you, and I'm not surprised. I mean, there's no way that car was going to be in a drivable condition after that one. And it does look like he might be done for the afternoon, but the fight is on for fourth here. Kilroe, like you said, leading that second pack, was somehow able to save it. Brian Dees and Nick Nickerson fall in line behind him. Now we get to the challenge of the Sonoma. Where do you pass? I mean, typically in stock cars, you got to do it at the end of a long straightaway, but what straightaways? There's barely any at this place.
It's all about how well you get into the corner to be able to make passes, quite simply. Watch this from the 2, for example. Yep, D's getting loose. That's going to allow an opportunity for Nicholson to get it better through the brakes, and because of that, able to make a pass by the time he gets the preferred groove to the right side. Those types of moves today are going to become commonplace for your best drivers to get through. It's all about how well you enter these corners, as said, and then how smoothly you can keep the grip. You make a mistake, though, you can have opportunities like Deeds just had.
And you see this S here. This S in particular is such a difficult series of corners. You got to go up over the rise. There, of course, on the left is the road where the Indy cars used to go. And I believe a few Club Series still take that road because it leads into a much tighter chicane rather than this penultimate corner here. This turn is going to be treacherous. It's not, oftentimes you see drivers spearing off there. Usually not all the way around, but it is an easy corner to overshoot before you dive down into the hair where you're on the brakes, effectively almost right out of that corner. But then Brian Dees will take you back to the start-finish line, and again, virtually flat out through the last corner and the opening corner. We got problems. Paul Satmary spun around to the exit of the hairpin.
One of the interesting things he said before tonight was if he pushed too hard, his neighbors would complain. And in this case, even then, missed the groove, pushed hard off the gas, corrected to make sure he didn't crash into Foster, cost himself time, and significant damage to the front end of the 24.
Jesse Gordon has been given a black flag for speeding on the way into pit road. A tough break for him. His night could very well be over. Sonoma is racking up a kill count here early on in the opening laps here at Sonoma, already working lap number 5. The laps go by quickly here, and it is a bit funny to say that, right? I mean, You look at Watkins Glen and Sonoma. Watkins Glen feels like a much shorter racetrack. It's a much faster racetrack, certainly, and yet the lap times between Sonoma and the Glen are only a few seconds off of each other.
Well, that's because both of the layouts, if you look at the miles, pretty close. It's under 2 miles with the short chute when it comes to Sonoma Raceway, for good reference. So you can get around this track pretty quickly as a result of the short distance. Compare that to the carousel, where you're upwards of around a minute 30 or so. That would add absolutely that extra mile, and that's where the separation was when we had those different layouts in parts of the 2020s here, and as well back around the 80s/early 90s. But for these drivers here, the challenge remains the same when it comes to Sonoma. Can you keep yourself from crashing the car? Right now the 2, by the way, is one of your faster cars, the racetrack. Pretty even with Kilrow on pace, though. If anything, I'm curious if he's getting held back by trying to make sure he doesn't hit the 41.
Usually a situation like this, it is pretty apparent that a driver is being held up at a road course, because you don't get that close to the back bumper of somebody and not have a significant leg up on speed. Some problem for Larry Bell. You see he's tumbled down the timing order. Not sure if he's had a hardware failure or something. I am showing that he did go off track, but I'm not seeing anything after that. So I'm willing to bet he's had a hardware failure and probably gone into a wall somewhere. We'll get a look at that if things develop. But for the time being, Jada Hopp puts down the new fastest lap while this too continues to hound the back of Kilrow.
You see small differences in how they'll approach the corner here. You see how Kilrow is trying to almost glide it in. Nicholson is a lot more stable on his entry point, where he's able to dig a little bit more deeper because he's got a better feel under the brakes. Once they're climbing up the hillside, those differences are going to help long run, not just in terms of keeping the average time, but also potentially with the tires here. Kilroy, I wouldn't be surprised, is burning up his rears because he's really sliding, almost leaning, it almost looks like, off the rears. That'll be a major trouble spot before he gets to the pit road. Remember, these tires on iRacing on the roadside really don't like you really utilizing those rears. They will fall off quickly around the back half of the run. Nickerson should say, seems like he's trying to keep a straight line on the braking point, and it's helping him be able to dig a lot more deeper into the braking mark.
Oh, you saw him make a peek there into that penultimate corner, but decided against it at the last second there. All of that, still no sign of Larry Bell, who it looks like has dropped out of the session altogether. This is at least a glance at what happened to Bell. He's up over the rise, and whoa, boy, spun and a big lick into the wall. And Justin, that looks like an Alt F4 if ever I did see one.
Yeah, he adds to the DNF list here, to say the very least. And at this point, attrition levels high. We're already down to 15 cars left. Oh, by the way, in that battle with the 2 and the 41, Kilrow did cut through the grass and did lose that spot, as we see some of the others now they try and fare out. Decent haul for D's potentially in points here with some of the drivers behind him on the pickup. Let's take a look at what we're talking about, though, with some of the others like the 7 trying to make up ground.
And Brian Dees, you mentioned it's all about momentum, and slipped wide. That allowed Lacey to get through. And then you mentioned Kilrow getting into the grass. This was that pass for position. Right there, you see him get the grass at the exit of the corner. And Nick Kersin says, "Thank you very much," as he dives into the short chute.
And now, as a result, he's been ditched by that 7 machine just on the raw speed. Look at the difference, though, on how well you get into the brakes. That time to lock up because you sent it too deep on the mark and absolutely burn up your right front. In that case, with the bind up triplet, to quickly take advantage here as a result of the damage. So for these drivers, can they keep the tires underneath them? Right now, remember, the fuel runs, talking to a couple drivers before, we're saying around 25 to 29 laps tonight. So it is a 1-stopper, not like the normal 2 or 3 stoppers on a 1.5 miles.
Fairly easy, I'd imagine. Pit around halfway, you're just about good to go. Aaron Smith still leading the way, but critically has not been able to break away from Jada Hopp. And you and I were kind of talking this over, right? I mean, Jaden Hobb was around, what, 6th, 7th place in the practice sessions, and we were thinking his bid at going 4 in a row might be in jeopardy, but he has not let Smith get more than a second ahead of him. If Hobb can keep up this pressure here, he might be able to go at him and get a run for that spot, but I do think that Hobbs going to have to take the race lead the hard way, because Smith is not a type of driver to make a mistake when he's leading.
No, whenever we've seen him make an appearance, he's done well. He's only made one start this season. The difference has been, we know he's a good road course racer. He's raced with PT Autosport in the sim, especially with the GR86s, with Toyota GR Cup North America through SRO. Still uncertain if that's going to happen in 2026 yet. But as well, he's also part of the drivers who made the final shootout with a chance with PT Autosport in 2024. He's built up a good name with the team. Only made the one appearance at Dover, and don't think he really even got going per se in that race. Just looking today to come out, have some fun, get a win, and get himself another good finish for the car 70 in yellow.
Smith is always a driver that's been able to go at it and take home wins where it matters. He was a multi-time winner. Another league we used to cover, the For the Boys Racing League, when they were running the older car of tomorrow. Whenever he showed up, he frequently dominated the show, often lapping most of the field in that race. So, Smith always a driver to keep eyes on whenever he turns up, and whenever he does make a mistake, it is an incredibly rare sight, almost as rare as seeing a dodo bird nowadays. But I tell you what, Smith's been putting in the work here this afternoon, and Jaden Hobbs been giving him pressure as well. And if Smith's going to take this win, he's not going to be able to rest easy throughout much of the night.
Yeah, I think for him, it's going to be about the execution on the pit stop. I think that's going to be the biggest difference in this race here, Nolan, because right now, Smith and Hobb, on average pace, are pretty near identical. Hobb, if anything, has been a little bit quicker the past 5 laps by about a tenth or two. So quite simply, it's about, can you stop the most dominant driver of the season by outsmarting him when it comes to pit strategy and execution at the end of this race? Or will Hobb be able to grind you down and be able to make that pass just before or right after the pit stop sequence and come away with yet another streak of wins, another 4-peat on the line here tonight for the 0-0?
That said, Aaron Smith has been pulling away quite significantly throughout this lap. I mean, he's gained already about a quarter of a second, in fact, on Jaden Hobb, but that gap just comes right back down through the final corner there. Jaden Hobbs actually able to then close in by a couple of thousand, but he has slipped back a little bit this last lap. So right now, Smith is on the charge up front, but Jaden Hobb, while he's trying to catch him, he has been fading. Hobb is a driver, though, that he usually tends to go a bit longer on his stints, and that long run pace could help him out. The only problem is Smith is another driver that really likes the overcut.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try and take a little bit lighter fuel maybe or something along those lines with the pit stop sequence. Mind you, the fall off so far over the course of about 11, 12 laps, only about 4 to 8 tenths depending on the personal best of these drivers and what they're turning. So not really too much of a fall off band. These tires here on iRacing notes usually fall off around the 1, if you're good, 9 tenths, maybe 1.1 seconds on a road course. They're about to reach traffic for the first time because Zat Murray is spinning in front of them nearly and is slipping and sliding. They're about to be caught.
Paul Satmary's paint scheme, you mentioned it earlier. The whole point is so I am nice and visible. We'll see if that scheme has done its job today, as having a little bit of a moment. Still nursing a lot of that front end damage from an earlier blow to the wall for the number 24 Karcher Ford Taurus, and pulls to the left right. No, that is the left-hand side. Pulls the left-hand side and just lets the field through. Decides I'm not going to look to get in the way. Satmary's here to get some points, and already he's up 2 spots where he started today just by keeping that nose mostly clean.
Keeping themselves pretty steady as a result here in this part. I think Satmary We're dealing with the nose down. His stay going to be held up with that the rest of the time he's on the racetrack. But some of the others here, Kilrow, still doing pretty decent here. Still maintaining, still surviving over the course of this run, but has been reeled on in by the ever-closing Lacey and by Triplet. Kilrow, good oval driver, okay-ish at best road course racer, and you can tell right now he's having a hard time. Going to be an okay finish for the 41, but pretty soon Lacey's about to get that top 5 here with how well he's handling the corners.
Oh, you saw Kilrow miss the apex there a little bit of that second to last corner, so he'll dive into the hairpin. That does let Lacey close the gap to under half a second now in the battle for the final spot inside the top 5. And now under 0.4 of a second, Lacey, the last time through, was able to secure a healthy handful of tenths. And look at that, I mean, 0.7 of a second, almost 0.75 of a second gain on lap 11, 6.5 on lap 12. Did lose a little bit this last lap by, but I think that's more because now that he's caught Kilrow, the challenge is trying to find a way around him, and that is the challenge of Sonoma, because again, what straightaways? Most of the straights, they usually come off of a sequence of corners, and you're on the brakes almost immediately, so you have no time to realistically build a momentum run.
Yeah, not at all, but it really, again, is the execution on how well you enter through. Take, for example, talking about Lacey. Is he really trying to edge on second, third gear to be able to rev his way up to the S's, for example? Right here, gets stable at the curb, avoids the right side curves to avoid destabilization, is able to play around with the throttle, avoid cutting into the grass, hits the mark, keeps it smooth, cuts a little bit with the rumble strips to the inside to gain a little bit of ground. It's all about those managements up to the gears. And you see even right there going a little too quick to the revs through first gear, costed enough of a bobble on these tires to lose you a lot of momentum to set you up the rest of the sequence for those corners.
I want to kind of bring up something to keep tabs on through that final corner here, because it is worth noting just how awkwardly positioned that wall is there. I mean, yeah, it looks round when you're at speed, but when you zoom in, look, all of those are straight walls, and that, of course, means that when you're going through this corner, you have a lot of potential leading edges that could really look to snag your car, and if you hit one of those wrong, it's not like a glancing blow. You're hitting a straight edge wall, which means your car could fire across the road and right into the opposite side as well.
Indeed, and you see just for a lot of these drivers, it's been the challenge all night long. It's a fun track, don't get me wrong. It's just absolutely a handful to be able to manage all the execution points, to be able to survive the lap here. Here's a look at the 48. He's fallen down a little bit all of a sudden behind the 2. And looked like he's missed a corner, absolutely blew it through it.
Whoa, boy, and a high-speed spin. That's one of the fastest corners on, that is the fastest corner of the track, and he is able to get it stopped before he goes into the opposite side wall on the other end of the racetrack there. You made good use of that spare hairpin there that the Indy cars used to run here.
Yeah, very lucky it didn't get worse for him. Just lost a little bit of time. Still in the top 5. Still has 7 seconds up with the rest of the pack. Just keep on driving, try and get that spot back from the 2 machine. But all this is well. Traffic time. Now with the 24. Looks like he's going to move out of the way. And Satmary actually misses the corner, trying to let them on go. At this point, I think they're all pretty equal on speed now with the fall-off ban. Lacey's not closed up to make the pass as much as I thought he would. He's kind of equalized now that he's in the dirty air of the 41.
Already a third of the way through this race, over a third of the way now, only 30 laps to go, so we are ticking away laps here in a hurry, Justin, and again, not terribly surprised by that. Again, we talked about how the lap counts here are relatively low by road course standards, especially by stock car road course race standards. Did Kilrow look to kind of miss the apex there and nearly went around, and speaking of going around, Ty Marasco has had a big moment.
Looks like he's lost a lot of spots now. 13th in the running order. MFRD machine. See already the bobbles trying to go to the gears. I think hit the chip at an inopportune time, just lost control and has to flick spin into the grass, and that loses him a lot of valuable points. Oh, and he nearly hit the wall in live action too just now.
Boy, Ty Marasco is struggling in that number 1. He's dropped back to 13th now, the last car on the lead lap. In fact, there you saw, I think that was Jaden Hobb that just was at the edge of the screen there entering the hairpin. But we talked about Wesley Triplett earlier on and how he was one driver to keep a potential eye on. He, too, has been slowly clawing his way back into the mix of this fight. Now running in the 7th place spot and trying to see if he can put pressure on Benjamin Lacey, who continues to hound Kilrow for 5th.
Yeah, nothing doing, I think, on these passes. I think they're all boxed in on each other at this rate. You mentioned the difficulty not allowing straightaways to build up the runs. I think quite simply, the long run pace is just equalized. Last time by, Lacey was only about a 10th quicker than that. But here's that 48 we're talking about, making the charge back. Austin McGill making an appearance here tonight. Looked very solid. Nearly cut into the grass here as he's pressurizing to terrorizing for the spot. Was 4/10 quicker on the close-up last time by.
And McGill seeing if he's got an answer for Nick Nickerson here in that fight for the final podium position. And 29 laps, I think, yeah, 25 to 29 laps. That was the anticipated fuel window. Justin, are you coming in at the halfway point, or are you looking to stay out a little bit longer?
Honestly, as you see the battle really fiercely get around with the 7 on the outside of the S's, that's not a passing section. Somehow, Lacey made that work. I'm not quite sure how he made that stick. To answer your question, depends on the battle. Halfway is the simplified way to do it. If you try and go in the long run, you limit the damage for your end of the run. It depends what everyone around you is doing on it.
It's a very good point, and I think if you're a guy like Triplett or Kilrow who thinks they're faster than Benjamin Lacey here, you might want to see if you can maybe go for that undercut. Lacey made a very brave move, though, to make that pass work, and I'll give him credit. He pulled it off, no contact, and he is able to get his way into the 5th place spot. No doubt much to the chagrin of Dalton Kilrow. And speaking of getting around drivers, Austin McGill around the long way of Nickerson into the hairpin.
Made it pretty quick. Just shows how well he's been able to handle the racetrack. He's not a winning car per se on pace, but McGill absolutely is one of the best drivers when it comes to the road courses out of this field here tonight. He's proven that with his abilities here this evening. But we are coming up to 26 to go. We're near the halfway point. Don't reckon, McGill. That was a little bit of a dangerous squiggle with the cut of the grass.
And Nickerson took notice of that, and he's going to take a wider line, trying to see if he can get momentum down the main straight, but he's going to bottle the bull by crowding up a bit too aggressively, and that scrubs off any possible advantage he may have had down the front straightaway here. So Austin McGill continues to maintain his advantage up at the head of this fight with Nickerson right behind him now for 3rd. And Sonoma, one of those tracks that, you know, on paper you look at the layout and you think, oh, this probably wouldn't be an entertaining race because of how narrow it is, how many turns there are compared to how few straights, or at least how short the straights are. But every time I come out here, they find a way to put on a show, and we're getting one this afternoon.
Yeah, we're seeing that with some of the battles, especially around where the 7 is still. He's still got Triplett trying to find a way around Kilrow. Lacey is off the track nearly. That's going to check everybody up here. Nice reaction by Kilrow not to send the 7 around here, but all these drivers, like I said, are holding each other back here. This is your closest battle pack left on the circuit, by the way, outside the race lead. Turns to intrigue as we approach halfway.
Triplett continues to hound the back end of Kilrow, and he's going to go for the inside. A huge aggressive dive to the bottom for the racing number 74. And Triplett is through in the 6th place spot. A good run there for Triplett. as he's going to clear Kill Row.
At this point, Kilroy, I think, is going to start plummeting pretty quickly away from these two. Because this triplet was quicker before the pack. The 7 was quicker before the pack. Now, this pack is going to start dissipating a little bit here in regards to how close they are. From here on out, it's going to be just the hope of survival for them. Your other closest battle that popped up recently, Foster and Corso all of a sudden have gotten close to the racetrack too, Nolan. As things come up to the closing stages, the 8, right now just about 6 car lengths now in front of Corso, who's been chipping away at this gap pretty significantly, in fact, the past couple.
Yes, sir, he's been going at it. I mean, look at laps 19 and 20, over a second gained in just those 2 laps alone. So Corso is on the charge. He smells a top 10, and boy, he wants to go for it. He'll not be able to get a run into these hairpins, I reckon, but if he keeps this pace up, he could go on a huge attack here into that final hairpin.
Yeah, there is the option here with Corso's rapid close-up. I think he has to do it pretty quickly if he doesn't want to get held back here, because the 8's obviously on the struggle bus. Has been much the way, and the long run's really kicking Foster in the teeth. Pit road is open. Marasco coming in. Coming out.
Quick stop there from Marasco, 14 seconds in the box, and he is off and away. Neither Foster nor Corso come in this time by. They will look to fight this one out here on the racetrack. Oh, there's that wall that I was talking about, that straight edge. Kevin Foster glanced in, and look at how much speed that is scrubbed off from his corner exit.
Yeah, this is just the battle of once you get within somebody's wake, it almost feels like it gets harder and harder to actually make the pass. It's almost like what you normally would see with the next gen car, the Gen 7 will be, in regards to dirty air and aero wake. We're seeing that here with Corso, really having a hard time figuring out where he can take these runs without demolishing the 8 in the midst of the corners and the braking zones. And that's going to make it harder and harder to actually make this pass, knowing Foster's driving his normal line, but that normal line is holding you back.
Dalton Kilrow comes down pit road in the number 41, so he's going to bail out from his fight, try to get the undercut on Triplet and Lacey ahead of him. Meanwhile, Corso all over the back of Foster. Does he go for the attack this time by? If he doesn't go for the attack here, then I would honestly recommend coming down pit road. I mean, he's clearly the faster car, but how quickly he's run down Kevin Foster. He's gaining nothing by staying behind him like this.
I mean, some of the drivers have already indicated pit stops, like Kilrow, like Dees. They've already peeled on down for service. And some of the others are already potentially going to start thinking about that too. We're past the halfway point after all.
Oh.
It's the simplified strategy right here and out. What did you see, Nolan?
Foster getting wicked sideways and actually kind of glanced off that inside wall there on the front straightaway. Take another look back at this one as he nearly smokes the wall in the front straightaway.
You can see it right here. Tries to run to the inside. You see it start to kick around. It's right about here. Challenger turn in. Cost you time, and this snap around, big save, uses the wall to stabilize.
I mean, you and I have both seen crashes in the front straightaway here, both in the real world and, of course, in the sim, Justin. A hit into the wall there is one of the worst impacts, because you strike that inside wall, you are fired across the other side of the track, and the walls here do not forgive. You hit one of them, your day is over. So Foster incredibly lucky to get away with that. And now Corso going for the attack as Foster's coming to pit road.
Yes, and there they go on the charge. Had to come down. Interesting enough, remember, it's not as simple as, oh, the commitment cone. In terms of the cone is at the start of the lane. No, it's at the end, all the way to the end of the bend. Remember Bobby Zelensky so many years ago in the NASCAR competition, Nolan was able to drift his way in through that pit entry all the way through the outside of the hairpin. And Gibson just started shouting frustrations here. He's got a black flag.
That had to have been for speeding, no doubt about it. So That's a strange place to get a speed penalty, though, because he was already almost turning in for his box.
I think he was trying to push a little too hard on the segments. Yeah, went to 41 miles an hour just for a second, but held it for about a good 50 feet or so. And it's not as simple on the segments, right? There used to be what the old pavement, line, 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 line. A lot of those timing sections are invisible now on the track.
Oh, that's such a tough break for Wesley. Not Wesley Triplett, sorry. That's such a tough break for Connor Gibson. I know he's going to be kicking himself for that one. That's the type of mistake you definitely don't make it more than once. And now he finally gets released and starts to make his way back out onto the racetrack. Aaron Smith, your race leader, is into pit road. And you mentioned Bobby Zelensky having his drifting moment into pit road. I know an even more unique pit entry here that the Beer League often took, and that, of course, comes to the fact that the Beer League, they have damage turned off all their races. Their strategy coming into pit road, just chest stand it around the outside wall. It'll do.
I mean, I guess it could work, but simple stop here for the 70. No response yet from Hop. Interesting play. This is the start of where we're expecting a fuel run to come towards the very end. And this is going to put together a big undercut for the 70. Hop right now, going to try to extend. Right now his times, well, he already pit last lap correction there. He's actually flying around. Where is he going to be? He's well behind the 70. So the overcut actually worked because it was a shorter stop for Aaron Smith II. He ended up only a 10-second stop in the box here. I don't know if he took tires.
I don't think he did. I mean, there's no way. He at least didn't take 4. There's no way you're taking 4 tires in that span of time. And, you know, we'll pull up the pit stop times, and, well, you guys can see for yourselves. I mean, 9.7 to 14.6. That explains the 5-second gap. But if Jaden Hobbs' tire advantage is greater, there's no way Smith holds on to the lead for that, surely, unless the tires don't wear as much as we thought.
Here's my thought on this here, Nolan. He's playing it like it is with the GT car. The fall-off's only about not even a second tonight for the lead cars. So the play is you're banking on Hop, long run. By the time his tires equalize on the order, once again, it's about 10 laps, can't catch up to the 70 in full to make a pass. So you're basically banking on the 00, can't chew this away in the next 10 laps.
Well, let's watch the sector times here as they look to come in this lap here. Aaron Smith at the moment, about 5.5 seconds up the road. And this is, I think, going to tell the big story here between these two drivers, and we'll see who's truly up to scratch on the tire life already. Jaden Hopp able to reel in a little bit, but I mean, that is not the type of delta you would expect it to come down on with this type of tire difference. And what this reminds me of is a lot of Gen 7 tire strategies at similarly length road course races as well.
Yeah, it's all about knowing how these tires work to be able to execute in these races. Just look at the stints here. Splits. It's near identical to starting things off here on the run, even with the tires on the 70. I'm very curious what the actual time's going to be here for Smith the second. Let's see. See the difference before. This time through, coming on through 1:16.4. That's basically near identical with brand new tires here, though. And that's with the layer of fuel. And obviously, something maybe iRacing to look to in the future, but that's been something that's popped up a lot in these road course races, I've noticed, in the stock car. It popped up before with the next-gen car in the NASCAR series last year. It's kind of popping up here right now tonight.
Yeah, right now, Jaden Hobb running down about 0.2 of a second a lap, and while, yes, 0.2 of a second of a lap is good, with less than 20 to go, that's not enough to close the advantage to Aaron Smith. So I think Jaden Hopp could be in serious trouble here. Austin McGill, meanwhile, has just been resetting the fastest lap over and over again. He is pushing hard, but 20 seconds back, and we're talking 15 seconds just from Jaden Hopp alone. He's also not realistically going to gain any spots before the end of this one.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting for a couple of these teams with the strategy play, but again, remember, Smith II is one of the drivers we expect to know this type of play. He's one of the top drivers. He races a lot in terms of league scene, runs a lot of special events, runs a fair bit on the roadside. He should know this. Some of the others probably not expecting this play to come in here tonight. In terms of the expectations now, we're seeing that distance potentially going to be a pretty massive one. It's just now for the 70. Avoid any wrecks, avoid any mistakes, go from there.
Problems for Dalton Kilroe, who has had a bit of a moment here. This is coming down. Whoa! Up over the rise, caught the grass, spun sideways, gets it stopped to the sand, and does manage to keep it out of the wall. Does a good job to also make sure that when he's doing his three-point here, he does not reverse into the racetrack to cut off Paul Satmary. But that does put him within 1 second of Brian Dees.
Yes, indeed. Dees, can he capitalize? I don't know if he will be able to because he's already in the 118s. Dees is. Kilroe, remember, his fastest lap time, 6/10 quicker than the 17 machine's fastest lap. I don't know if Dees is going to be able to capitalize in this, knowing just on the metrics.
Brian Dees continuing to close the gap in on Dalton Kilroe. It has been quite the race we're having this afternoon, and from what I understand, it is quite the race they're having on the other side of our Monday night show. The Collegiate Iverson League has looked to take on the Rockingham Speedway, and so far they appear to be having a time of it. They've had a number of cautions so far this afternoon. We get to enjoy caution-free racing here this afternoon, but Justin, it's one of only a few races that is coming on up here over the next little while, as there is plenty of racing to be excited about in the next little while on Greenfly TV, including the Mid-Atlantic Racing Series at Phoenix this coming Tuesday alongside OMSRL, who are also jumping to Rockingham. PSR and Speed both kick off their point seasons proper at Daytona, while the Mystic Racing League Casimo Glass Company Series takes to Vegas, and the Collegiate Iverson League Formula College heads to the brand new Miami International Autodrome. That, of course, the new Formula One temporary circuit down in Miami, making its Greenfly TV debut as well.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be learning that track on the fly. I've been looking into the stuff actually for CIL competition in the Discord side. They don't have a setup for that track, Nolan.
Oh boy.
Because remember, IndyCar doesn't go there. So I think they're currently in the midst of a vote at the moment to figure out what track do you want to try and take a risk with the setup on and go from there. Do you want a modified Watkins Glen? Do you want to throw a Road America setup in it to see if it works? I think that race is going to be very unpredictable Thursday.
I would get a chuckle if somebody decided to be cheeky and try the Homestead Miami Speedway's road course setup.
I don't think that's even going to work because they're not even comparable with the straight line.
Oh, you're right, yes. Much longer straights than Miami Autodrome, isn't there?
Yeah, especially with that massive one underneath the freeway.
Yeah.
That's a good near mile and a half, a couple miles of a straightaway alone.
Big DRS zone as well. There's a reason why it's one of the two DRS zones is on that straightaway right there. Michael Thorpe Jr. has just gone around, and Jr. already having a pretty bad afternoon. Got caught up in an early crash. His day goes from bad to worse, and lost it trying to avoid running over Kevin Foster into the braking zone. And nearly wipes out Coruscant as well.
I think his thought is quite simple. Thankful there's no road courses to really deal with in the chase for the Cup this season because it's Dega, Atlanta, Darlington, Phoenix, Homestead. If there's a road course, that might have been a championship coster, to say the very least, but not this season.
And Thorpe, speaking of, is coming back to pit road. This is actually his first pit stop of the day. That would be for a scheduled stop, at least. He did pit earlier on, but he did not pit within the threshold of being able to make it to the end. So this will be his only scheduled stop, and now he'll be able to make it to the end. Yeah, I think for Thorpe, just trying to get have just lost Justin Prince. So we'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll work out the technical gremlins in the background here. It seems the racers are not the only ones that happen to have that come from time to time. We'll let you feel the noise. We ride on board with Brian Dees trying to run down Dalton Kilroe. You're watching the High Tide Racing League on Green Flag TV. Well, courtesy of Michael Thorpe Jr., seeking to power through the field, he is able to more or less bully his way past Dalton Kilroe, and that lets Brian Dees close the gap in quite significantly. While we were away, Paul Statberry has had a bit of a slide, and that is what has put him even further on the back foot behind James Yerger after a moment over turn 4.
Statberry at this point just happy for this race to come to a conclusion. 10 minutes, just make sure the car survives until then. The bright side, he's outscoring Michael Thorpe, but some of the others here, like Kilroe, still has Dees behind. It's been a bit of a struggle for both of these drivers. Kilroe had an advantage on the 17, lost it again. Now looking to maintain the gap again.
And we talk about closing fights as well. Jaden Hopp has brought the gap down to 3.4 seconds, and this is one that we've been kind of following pretty closely for the last little while here to see if anybody's got an effort here to try to run down Aaron Smith. And again, Hop's been reeling in a few tenths here, a few tenths there, but the margin still is not enough to be able to realistically go on offense. And I have a strong feeling like that 4P for Jaden Hop will not be attained this afternoon, and his record from early in the season will still stand.
Yeah, Hop. You got to give him credit for his race today. He's got, I think, a bit of play with the strategy. There's that equalization point we're talking about. The tires really starting to come to play here. But Aaron Smith, doing Aaron Smith things, putting on a dominating show.
It's no surprise for Aaron Smith to see him out at the head of this field here. Oh boy, a bit of a moment there as he looks to duck around Brian Dees. At this point, the only points where Jay Hop is realistically closing in much is when Aaron Smith is closing on lap traffic. Because you just saw he reeled in, 0.8 of a second there. But that's going to extend pretty soon because he's also got to fight his way around that number 17.
Yeah, I think that's going to end up costing him a little bit of time overall again. But now the 70 here is going to have to remember, deal with a lot more traffic themselves. They have Kilrow, they have Connor Gibson trying to avoid barriers with Thorpe up the road, and then you get that clean pocket. So it's going to ebb and flow a bit, Nolan. Time, take it away.
Aaron Smith looking for a grand slam, pole position, most laps led. In fact, every lap led, a fastest lap and a race win. The one thing he is missing is the fastest lap. That is something that Austin McGill holds. Now, critically, McGill's fastest lap time, a 1:15.7. Smith's fastest lap, a 1:16.2. So that fastest lap might be the one thing that keeps the PC Autosports number 70 away from the coveted honor of a Grand Slam.
Oh no, the 48 spun around on the front straight away.
Speak of the devil.
Good run. Goes all the way out the window, and that car is demolished.
Critically, no meatball flag, so if that car's stable, he's got 6 seconds of racing, he can keep it on the track, but that is a self-inflicted error. Lost it to the final corner and nose it into the wall. Honestly, not as hard of a hit as I was anticipating. I think he may have been able to get away with that. I think it's just the awkward angle that he struck it at that's dislodged the front nose.
Yeah, that is going to be lucky to get around the rest of the way. We already seen some more damage push Gordon and Thorpe Jr. into pit road. He's going to have temp issues if he keeps pushing. And yeah, it is dragging around. I think he's going to have to come down.
I have to agree with you on that one, because look closer, right? You can see all those particles that he's dragging behind him on the racetrack from that debris being pulled along the racetrack. That's not going to be doing that race car any sort of favors, especially as he goes to attack these curves. It's only going to continue to exacerbate the issue. Now, the saving grace would be if he finds a way to get that nose ripped off, but he's not going to be able to do it. He is into pit road, and that will cost him a top 5.
Unfortunate, a great run for the 48. That's why you can't make mistakes when you have good track position. This one's going to absolutely cost him any chance of a good finish here. Best he can finish maybe a 16th, maybe 15th rather, because of how this goes, depending on how quick he can get that bumper fixed into the pit lane. But with 6 to go, comes the question now for the rest of the drivers, will anybody else make a similar mistake late? Especially knowing Jaden Hop's on a charge trying to close. He just sent it underneath 2 different cars to gain time.
Jaden Hop on the move here, trying to see if he can reel the gap into Aaron Smith up the road. And he's going to keep up the fight here, and with 2 seconds now, he sees some daylight. The hope for a 4-peat might not be as dead in the water as we thought.
Yeah, there's a chance. It's a small chance here, Nolan, but there's a chance. It's going to require a little bit more help from the traffic and execution, because there's only Michael Thorpe up the road, then a bit of air from there. So for Hop, he better find a way to gain the ground quickly in the braking zones. He's got fresher tires, but I don't know if he's going to be able to close up about 2 seconds in the course of 5 laps just with how well the 70's driven.
Yeah, Aaron Smith has not put a foot wrong all day long, and proving that he's got what it takes to take the win here at the Sonoma Raceway. You know, another track where you can't really afford to put things wrong, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and that is, of course, what is coming on up just next week here for 150 trips around the Magic Mile. New Hampshire has an extremely checkered history with the High Tide Racing League, and I'm sure some drivers are going to love it, some drivers are going to hate it. A track that most should love, though, Chicagoland Speedway right after.
Yeah, that end of the championship coming up here is going to be an exciting stretch and going to really be testing, in particular with Atlanta and Darlington. Remember, New Hampshire, short track. Chicagoland, 1 mile and a half. That's actually a bit of longer distance, believe, actually. Because for the most part, Nolan, we've been out around 125-ish laps or so in a mile and a half much of the season. That's going to be a little bit more to what we've seen at Texas on that distance that these drivers are going to have to deal with. And that's going to potentially spell fuel mileage race for the cutoff race for the chase.
And then, of course, first race in that chase, where else but the biggest, baddest NASCAR track on the calendar, Talladega. Now, Talladega not going to be the usual ruck and ruckus that we're used to seeing here. We saw how Daytona went. Drivers that were at full throttle still unable to pass anywhere. Passing is now a premium when it comes to super speedway races. We saw that at Daytona, and that could be an even more mad scramble for spots in the opening laps of that race where we fall into a processional single file run from there to the end. But the race here continues to develop. 4 laps to go, and Jaden Hopp has been unable to close within 2 seconds.
Yeah, and a little bit of smoke. Sat Murray spun at the bottom of the racetrack. I think this chance is done for because gap hasn't closed up. Hopp, in fact, lost time last time by. 70s race to lose. With only a couple laps to go here. Another podium finish on the season for the 00 to add to the points tally. But give credit, by the way, to the 2 machine. Ran away by near 20-plus seconds after the 48's crash. Very comfortably on the podium today.
And Nick Nickerson has run just a very quiet 3rd place ever since he broke away from the fights around him. And I'm sure he's very happy with his performance, and he's got a good reason to be. I mean, that 2 car has, like the top 2, been on point all day. Not a race-winning car, mind you, but hey, sometimes you don't need race winning. You just need a consistent car that can reliably get you to the end. That has been the big advantage for Nickerson today. It has kept him out of trouble. It's kept him out of everybody else, and he's been, for the most part, almost in a private testing session this race.
Yeah, you can tell the 2 is just trying to balance out to end this race, really on the ball when it comes to balance. But I will say this has definitely been a test in one way or fashion. It's the test of your skill set and test your wits to be able to survive a road course for good points.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you take the wide look over the Sonoma Raceway. I mean, this track, far from one of the easiest ones. It is one of the more difficult racetracks on the NASCAR schedule, and for good reason. Never a racetrack to underestimate. And at the other end of the facility, Jaden Hopp and Aaron Smith, they continue to ebb and flow in their own little battles, but still, Jaden Hopp has been unable to close the distance, and at this point, I see no reason that Smith won't lock this one out easily.
Absolutely dominant day for the 70, 42 of 42 laps completed. He's led the entire race. Quite simply, has dominated. I believe he's been running with Jaden Hopp in the sports cell today. He's put on clinic. By the way, the MFRD machine of James Yerger. Another one you can put on the list of. Please get me out of here. There we go.
Yeah, James Yerger having a tough afternoon. Only 5 cars will look to finish this race on the lead lap, with Dalton Kilrow being the latest one to go a lap down a little while ago. Tom Barraska just went down a 2nd lap in this race, running in the 11th spot and 9 seconds behind Bob Berry. At this point, no drivers on track are closer than 3 seconds to each other. Jaden Hopp, I think, has hit that critical cliff of tire where he's pushing as hard as he can, but now he is dropping like a stone.
Yeah, this is just the end of the run, I think, sparkling in here. pushed his tires too much trying to gain away, Nolan. And he kind of had to push to try it. But unfortunately, he's now pushed the tires past the point of where the tire wears past its normal saving peak when you're able to drive normally around here. It's just not gonna be enough here. It's gonna be a second place run today for the 00, but we still have a lot to go this time.
And some drivers and some folks at home, right, might want to claim that, oh, Hop made a mistake by pushing that hard early on, but I beg to differ. If he was pushing that hard as he possibly could, that he's burned his tires off, and he still was only able to run the gap down to just 2 seconds, Aaron Smith, there was no way that gap was ever going to come down. He just got outplayed on the strategy today, which is a rarity for Jaden Hop, a driver who's usually on top of him with pit strategies. He's usually one of the drivers that is lapping up to the 5th, 4th, and 3rd places in some of the caution-free races that we've had, but today, not Hop's day, and Smith is cruising away because of it.
Yeah, a dominant day for the 70 machine. We talked about his experience last time we came here. The road course rainer puts together an absolutely unreal day of speed. By the way, Michael Thorpe just blew up the car, but outside of that, no issues for the 70, no hits like so many drivers did today.
Smith gonna work his way through the S's for the final time today. Hop, just a distant memory. A driver that hounded Aaron Smith for much of the early runs. The one regret that Aaron Smith is gonna have, he didn't push hard enough to get the fastest lap. So the Grand Slam will remain elusive for the PT Osborne Yellow Vision number 70, but that will not take away from an absolute dominant performance. Aaron Smith leads every lap, started from pole. He wins at Sonoma.
Dominant day, dominant effort, only a couple cars in the lead lap as a result. Aaron Smith II just decimated the field with how well he drove this one tonight.
Take a look at what happened to Thorpe. This is what will result in Thorpe being likely unable to finish the race, although not for lack of trying here as he goes up over the rise, and you see him twitching out, lose the back end, slams into the wall. That car still mobile, by the way, as he tries to limp it around to a checkered flag.
Give him credit, he's trying to at least finish out the race, finish out the laps, right? Oh, McGill just slammed a barrier as well. So a couple drivers are having some moments here. The 48 didn't add any more damage. Thorpe did finish, but everyone else trying to join in and finish as well as McGill fighting with this car for good effort. He is right on the chip.
But he is going to be able to make it across the start-finish line at the tail end of the day, and what an effort for Aaron Smith as he's going to pull into the down into the full layout of this circuit, and well, unfortunately, not a place where we have a camera laid out, but hey, you might look to put a showing for the drive. Oh, he's found a different Sonoma jump. There you go. We were talking about that before the race, right? They extended the K-rails out of turn 1, so that the traditional Sonoma jump, a thing of the past, but he found one.
I mean, if you can get a replay, I know I'm putting him on the spot here with the 48 just now. He did find a way you can still use the jump into 1-2.
Oh dear.
The problem is, I think he spun it while trying to do it. This is going to be, first of all, the mistake that popped up here. See him just letting it loose in the back end, pushing a little bit too hard. Just about wrecked the car into the barrier. And obviously, then finished out the lap. Then afterwards, you see, we talked about him on the chip. Right after we turned away, see he's trying to set something up. He is trying to drift it. Doesn't work out, and then he accidentally flips right on over.
Oh boy, caught the end of the wall there. I mean, it works. That works. An attempt was made, and the car did get air. It did. I'll count that. I'm willing to count that. But quite the race this afternoon. Definitely one of the more exciting Sonoma races we've seen, although it did end with a bit of a quiet run at the tail end of this one. Aaron Smith takes home the win this afternoon. A dominant performance from PT Autosport. Jaden Hop comes in second. Nick Christian back in third. Lacey in fourth. Wesley Tribble rounds out the top 5. The last car on the lead lap with Dalton Kilroy and Brian Dees finishing 6th and 7th. Corcel, Foster, and Barry round out the top 10.
Next tab over, that's where you find the rest of the results. That's where Marasco is with Gibson and McGill. Those drivers multiple laps down. Jurgen finished 3 laps down. Zatmary 4 laps down. Thorpe Jr. did finish the race 8 down. Your DNFs today were Bell, Gordon, and Hagee, a part of tonight's run-through.
Top break for Eddie Hagee and Jesse Gordon. They did not make it out of the opening 5 laps of this race. I know Jesse Gordon has opinions over how the incident between him and Dalton Kilgore went down earlier on this afternoon, and we'll try to get a rundown and give a chat in with all the drivers that finished this race, numbers 1, 2, and 3 here this afternoon, and we'll look to track down Aaron Smith, the driver that comes home number 1. Don't know if he's quite available yet, so just a much catch up with our second place runner here this afternoon, Jaden Hobb.
Yes, indeed, Jaden. Almost got another streak down here today. But in the end, second place run to a driver that you're working with tonight, Aaron Smith II. Talk to us through the strategy decision between what we've seen from the 70 not taking tires and your decision to take tires.
Well, you know, it was kind of a fumble on my end. With how much horsepower the Gen 4 car has and how much I personally was lighting up the rear tires, I expected 4 tires to matter more than they actually ended up doing. So I guess that's a fumble on my part, but we still came home with second. So, and Aaron's one of the fastest people I know on these tracks in these cars. So anytime I can run up there with him, I'd say is a win in my book.
Indeed here, but also, how would you say the car drives with this version of Sonoma with the Gen 4 machine? I know it's been a couple seasons since you guys ran, a couple years in fact, and a couple track scans ago.
I'd say during the practice and the qualifying and whatnot, I didn't really care for it much, but then the race came around and I ended up feeling a whole lot better, figured it out finally, and I really liked how it drove. I was able to get my car to like point very, very well. That's probably what ended up killing my rear tires, to be fair, but it was a ton of fun. I would definitely do that race over again if I could.
So with that being said here, right now obviously things just about locked up with the top spot coming into the chase here. What's your approach going to be now with a couple of races to go until that run in the chase for the championship?
I'd probably say just what I'm currently doing. I'd say how I've been doing is pretty well, and just looking to continue that for the last, what, like 3 races before the chase, and then
2.
Yeah, we'll be ready for that. Oh, 2. Okay, 2.
Yes, New Hampshire, Chicagoland are the final 2 races coming up here for that run to the chase. So on that note, anyone you want to give a shout out to in the 00 camp?
I'd like to shout out you guys for broadcasting each week. Nolan and Justin, thank you very much, and all the admins and every driver that shows up in races. I'd like to shout out my family for watching me each and every week. Wouldn't really be here without them, right? So thank you, everyone.
Congrats on the run here tonight in this one, Jaden.
Thank you very much.
Jaden Hobb comes away with a second place run here this evening. Driver he was working with tonight, he's just lined up as well here, Nolan. The 70, Aaron Smith II dominates. He's with you.
Aaron, what a absolute masterclass at the field this afternoon. The one thing that will stop the Grand Slam, you did not get the fastest lap, but hey, you got the pole. You led every single lap. You won the race. Do you think you had anything in you to get the extra half a second out that would have gotten you that Grand Slam tonight?
Oh, no. I feel like if I did, it would have warmed those tires up past a point where I could get them back. So, because I didn't take tires at the halfway pit stop. I didn't really want to. These tires focus more on heat, so I just wanted to keep them cool during the first 10 laps or so and be able to run away at the last few. But, yeah, it worked out well for me. I had the consistency, and that's what it took.
Kind of talk us through the pit strategy here today. Pretty much every single driver took 4 tires. You were the lone contender that decided to not go for all 4s. What was the decision behind that? Because it was certainly what won you the race today.
Yeah, like I said, it's all in the heat and the tires. Like, the wear numbers don't really matter as long as you're keeping them under you and not spinning them. So Jaden did have, like, a higher ceiling there in the first 15 laps of the run. But once we started to even out, I started to pull about a tenth a lap, and then he'd get me back about 2/10. We were bouncing back and forth, and there was a point where he was keeping me honest. He did have me worried, gaining those 3 seconds that he got on me there. But yeah, like I said, the gap sustained, and I was able to hold it on.
New Hampshire and Chicagoland are the next 2 races up here before we close out the regular series season and go into the chase. Obviously, you are running part-time this season, not in it for the championship. Are we going to be seeing you out at any point before now and the end of the season again?
Chicago sounds fun. Are there any more road courses? I haven't checked the schedule at all this season. I usually just show up when the iRacing League page looks interesting.
This was the last one, unfortunately.
Well, we'll see. Never say never.
Well, hopefully we'll see you out here once again. As always, congratulations on taking home a stellar afternoon in the PT Autosport Yellow Edition number 70. And well, we'll see you whenever we see you on track next.
10-4, thank you.
Aaron Smith comes home number 1 this afternoon. And Justin, I don't have eyes on Nick Nickerson, so that might be it for our podium interviews today. But I tell you what, quite the wild show that we had here today. And that was a good fight, and definitely one that Jada Hopp is probably going to be wondering, what if?
Yes, indeed. And I will tell you one thing. I know there was newborn twins when it comes to Nick. I believe he's found some time away from them because he's found his way to you, Nolan.
Well, how about that? Nick, welcome to the broadcast booth. We missed you last week, but as I understand, family takes precedence. Who would have thunk it? But you come home a quiet third today. How are you feeling?
Oh, pretty good. A little sweaty. As these road course races definitely are just 100% the whole time. No yellow flags, no brakes, no nothing. So looking forward to getting out of the seat for a minute.
Well, you're still able to take a pretty calm run here. Obviously, that number 2 car has been looking strong all season long. And with the run here, you're going to be able to pick up second place in the Drivers' Championship at the end of the night here. So chase run, is that still in the cards for you with the new responsibilities that you got back home?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I just have to kind of make that call during the cutoff there. I don't know how many more weeks we have left. 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, only 2 left.
2 left. Yeah, I mean, I guess at this moment, I'll go ahead and stay in and give her a shot. But I'm still kind of waiting to see what my work schedule is going to be like in the next few months, and we'll see.
Well, we've seen you come close to a championship, right? I think the closest we've seen you come was about the round of 8 during season number 2. The last time we were running Gen 4 cars, actually. Assuming your work schedule lines up and assuming other problems don't sideline you throughout the chase, how confident are you that you can go out and take down Jaden Hopp for that title?
I mean, maybe, man. Like, it's difficult because, there's times that he's just outright faster. There's times where I feel like I can keep up with him, but I can't necessarily beat him. And I don't know, it's just, it'll be tough, and unfortunately, like in a situation like this in years past, if I got into a situation like this, I would be on this racing sim practicing all day long and all night long and trying to find a little bit here, a little bit there, but I can't do that now. So I don't know. It's I'll take whatever I get. I doubt I'll be able to fight for the final championship, but man, I'm definitely gonna try to have some fun along the way, at least.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck then next week at the Magic Mile. Congratulations on third, and we'll see you next time out.
Appreciate it, guys. See you next week.
Nick Nickerson comes home third, and that will look to close things out for us here this afternoon. We look to the point standings leaving Sonoma, and Justin, it paints a picture. Jaden Hopp, once again, looks to extend his margin at the front. Nickerson picks up second as anticipated, though. A pretty big blow being dealt to some drivers like Scott Shire, who are not present this afternoon.
Yeah, as said, Shire lucky to still hold on to the top 8 with the points tallies here tonight. Hagee basically turned a lap left, still comes away with the points to hold on to the top 10, but that cut line with tonight, Dees did do enough to be able to outscore who he needed to outscore. Gibson now below of it with Yerger back an additional 20. A lot to say. When it comes to that, it's going to come down to survival between the 17 and the 31, I think, the rest of the way. And don't forget the 1 also in the mix.
Oh, no kidding. There is so much to talk about going into the next few weeks, and I can tell you right now, there is going to be plenty of racing action that is yet to be had here throughout the course of this season. Still a ways to go, though. Only 2 weeks remain before it is playoff season here in the High Tide Racing League. When we swing out next, though, on Green Flag TV, it is going to be tomorrow afternoon, where the Mid-Atlantic Race Series at Phoenix takes on Phoenix alongside the OMSRL Cup Series at Rockingham. PSR and Speed are both at Daytona, and another track makes its Green Flag TV debut with the Miami International Autodrome, host of the Collegiate Racing League Formula College Championship, alongside the Mystic Racing League's Collegiate Glass Company at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Beer League is back for more as well on Wednesday. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflag.tv. This championship is going to be one intense fight from here to the end, and we'll look to see you all when we go racing out next time out on Green Flag TV. For now, we'll pass you on down to Derek Watts and Jacob Kohler, who continue to take you through a slugfest at Rockingham for the Collegiate iRacing League UNOH Cup Series from North Carolina.